They say blood is thicker than water. But when my mother's hand connected with my face at my sister's wedding, I learned that money is thicker than both. Welcome to the last lesson. If you're new here, subscribe for real stories about betrayal, strength, and finding yourself when the people you trusted most let you go. I need you to understand something before I tell you this story. I wasn't always the girl who walked away. I wasn't born with thick skin or a sharp tongue or the kind of confidence that lets you cut people off without looking back. For most of my life, I was the opposite. I was the good daughter, the one who colored inside the lines, who made the honor roll every semester, who said yes, ma'am, and of course, dad, and whatever you need. My sister, Emma, was the golden child. 3 years older, effortlessly beautiful. The kind of person who could walk into a room and make everyone turn their heads. She had this laugh, loud and infectious, and our parents orbited around her like she was the sun. I didn't resent her for it, not really. That's just how it was. Emma got the attention. I got the expectations. Your sister has star quality, my mom would say, adjusting Emma's hair before a school dance. But you, sweetheart, you have potential. Potential. That word followed me everywhere. It meant I wasn't enough yet, but I could be if I just worked harder, did better, achieved more. So I did. I graduated high school with a 4.0 and a full scholarship to a prestigious university. While Emma was dating musicians and posting vacation photos, I was pulling all-nighters in the library, networking at career fairs, building a future brick by careful brick. I loved what I studied, computer science, data analytics, the beautiful logic of systems that actually made sense. Unlike people, unlike family. At 19, I landed an internship at a tech startup. At 20, they offered me a full-time position. At 21, after the company went through a massive acquisition, I was promoted to junior analyst with a salary that made my hands shake when I saw the offer letter. I remember calling my parents that night, voice trembling with excitement. "That's wonderful, honey," my dad said, but his tone was distant. "Hey, your mom wants to know, what's the actual number?" "Ballpark." I told him. There was a pause. "Well," he said slowly, That's quite a bit of money for someone your age." "I earned it," I said, and I hated how defensive I sounded. "Of course you did. We're proud of you. Just be smart with it, okay? Family first. Remember that. Family first." I would hear that phrase a lot over the next year. I saved aggressively. I lived in a tiny studio with 2 roommates, ate ramen more nights than I'd like to admit, and watched my bank account grow. I had a goal. A dream I'd been nurturing since I was a little girl lying on the apartment floor, staring at magazine cutouts of city skylines. I wanted my own place. Not just any place, a home that was mine. Somewhere with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view that made me feel like I'd finally made it. When I found the penthouse, I knew it was the one. It was modest by luxury standards, 1 bedroom, open concept, perched on the 20th floor of a newly renovated building downtown. But it had that view. At sunset, the entire city turned gold, and standing in that empty living room during the showing, I felt something I'd never felt before. I felt like I belonged to myself. I put in an offer that same day. At 21 years old, I bought my first home with my own money. The day I got the keys, I called my parents. I wanted them to be excited, to celebrate with me, to see that all those years of being the responsible one had paid off. "You bought a what?" my mother said. "A penthouse." "Well, a condo, but it's on the top floor." "Mom, you should see the view." "How much?" I told her. Another pause. "Longer this time." "That's a lot of money to tie up in real estate at your age," she said carefully. "Have you thought about investing it instead? Your father has some opportunities." "I want this, Mom. I've been saving for 3 years." "Of course, sweetheart. It's just, well, we'll talk about it when you come visit." But we didn't talk about it. Not really. Instead, over the next few months, there were comments, casual observations that felt like tiny paper cuts. "Must be nice to afford a place like that. Your sister's been looking at apartments. Nothing as fancy as yours, of course. You know, when you have family, you share your success." I told myself they were just adjusting, that they were proud, even if they had a strange way of showing it. I threw myself into furnishing my new home, into proving that I'd made the right choice. I hosted a small housewarming party. My parents came, walked through slowly, touching the countertops, peering out the windows. "It's very adult," my dad said. Emma didn't come. She sent a text. Asterisk looks amazing. "So happy for you," asterisk followed by a heart emoji. But there was something in that casual abbreviation, that single emoji, that felt dismissive. Like my biggest accomplishment was just another Instagram post to scroll past. Things shifted after that. Phone calls from my parents became more frequent, but the conversations always drifted toward money, investments, opportunities, family projects that needed funding. "We're not asking for a handout," my dad would say. "Just a loan. Family helps family." I helped. Of course I helped. I sent money for my grandmother's medical bills, covered the deposit on Emma's new apartment when she was between jobs, paid for family dinners at restaurants I could barely afford myself back when I was a student. I said yes because that's what good daughters do. Then, 6 months after I bought the penthouse, Emma called me. "I'm engaged," she squealed, and I could hear the champagne-soaked joy in her voice. I was genuinely happy for her. Emma had been dating Marcus for almost a year, a corporate lawyer from a wealthy family, the kind of man our parents approved of immediately. He was handsome, successful, and he looked at Emma like she hung the moon. "That's amazing. Congratulations. And I want you to be a bridesmaid, obviously." "Oh my God, this wedding is going to be incredible." Marcus's parents are helping us plan everything. They know everyone and the venue. Wait until you see the venue. Over the next few months, wedding planning consumed our family. Every conversation, every dinner, every text thread revolved around flowers, invitations, seating charts. I watched from the sidelines, genuinely excited for Emma, but also feeling that familiar role settle over my shoulders, the supporting character in someone else's story. Then, 2 months before the wedding, my mother called. "Sweetheart, we need to talk about your contribution." "My contribution?" "To the wedding. We've all been chipping in, and your father and I thought, given your situation, you might want to cover the rehearsal dinner." My situation, my penthouse, my salary, my success that had somehow become a family resource. "How much are we talking?" She named a number that made my stomach drop. But I heard myself say yes. Because family first. Because I was the good daughter. I should have seen it then. The red flags weren't just waving, they were screaming. But I was so busy trying to prove I deserved their love that I missed the most important truth. I was never going to be enough. Not until they took everything. The wedding was 3 weeks away when my mother invited me to lunch. "Just the two of us," she said over the phone, her voice warm and conspiratorial. "We haven't had mother-daughter time in forever." I should have known better. My mother didn't do casual lunches. Every interaction had a purpose, a goal, an ask hidden beneath pleasantries like a trap under fallen leaves. But I wanted to believe this time was different. I wanted to believe that maybe, finally, she saw me as more than a checkbook with a heartbeat. We met at an upscale bistro downtown, the kind of place with cloth napkins and servers who describe each dish like it's a work of art. My mother was already seated when I arrived, looking elegant in a cream blouse and pearls, her hair perfectly styled. She stood to hug me, and for a moment, just a moment, I felt like someone's daughter instead of someone's disappointment. "You look tired, sweetheart," she said, settling back into her chair. "Are you sleeping enough?" "Work's been busy." The promotion came with new responsibilities. "Of course." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You always were such a hard worker." "Too hard, sometimes. You need to remember there's more to life than career." I ordered a salad I didn't want and watched my mother sip her wine, waiting for the real conversation to begin. It didn't take long. "Emma's so excited about the wedding," she said, tracing the rim of her glass. "Everything's coming together beautifully. Marcus's family has been so generous." "That's great. They're wonderful people. Very established. His father owns that commercial real estate firm, you know the one. They have properties all over the state." She paused, and I felt the shift in the air, like the moment before thunder. They have expectations. Expectations for how their son lives, where he lives, They've made it clear that Emma and Marcus need to start their marriage in a home that reflects their status. Somewhere appropriate. I set down my fork. Emma and Marcus are both adults with good jobs. I'm sure they'll find something. They have. My mother leaned forward, and her voice dropped to something almost gentle. They want your penthouse. The restaurant noise faded. I heard those 4 words echo in my head, rearranging themselves, trying to make sense in a way they never would. Excuse me, your penthouse. It's perfect for them. The location, the size, the building. And you're just one person, honey. You don't need all that space. It would be so much better suited to a young couple starting their family. I laughed. I actually laughed because the alternative was screaming. Mom, that's my home. I bought it. I live there. And we're so proud of what you've accomplished. But family helps family, remember? This would be such a beautiful gift for your sister. Think about how happy it would make her. A gift. I repeated the word slowly, tasting its absurdity. You want me to give them a $2 million property? My mother's expression hardened, just slightly. Don't be dramatic. We're not asking you to give it away for nothing. They'd pay you, of course. A fair family price. A family price. Something reasonable. Your father's been doing some calculations, and we think $700,000 is more than generous. That's pure profit for you. You can put it toward your future, maybe invest it properly this time instead of tying it all up in real estate. The math was so insulting I almost admired its audacity. They wanted me to sell my home, my achievement, my independence, my proof, for 1/3 of its value so my sister could impress her in-laws. No, I said simply. Sweetheart, no, Mom. That's not happening. I'm not selling my home, and definitely not at a 70% loss. Her face transformed. The gentle mother disappeared, replaced by something cold and calculated. You're being selfish. Am I being selfish? I paid for my own education, my own apartment, my own furniture. I've loaned you and Dad money I've never seen again. I'm paying for the rehearsal dinner, which is the least you can do considering what this family has given you. What has this family given me? The question came out harder than I intended, and I watched my mother's eyes flash. We raised you. We fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head. Everything you have is because of us. I was a child. That was your job as a parent. Don't you dare speak to me that way. Her voice was low, dangerous. You think you're so independent, so successful, but you forget where you came from. You forget who you'd be without this family. Apparently, I'd be someone who still had a penthouse. My mother's lips pressed into a thin line. She reached into her purse and pulled out her phone, scrolling briefly before turning it toward me. On the screen was a photo of my penthouse, not one I'd taken, but a professional shot that looked like it came from a real estate listing. What is this? Emma and Marcus have been looking at properties. We showed them photos of yours, and they fell in love with it. Marcus's parents have already expressed their approval. Everyone's excited about this, sweetheart. Everyone except you. The betrayal was so casual it took my breath away. They'd been planning this, showing my home to my sister and her fiancé like it was theirs to offer, making promises on my behalf without asking, without even pretending to care what I wanted. You had no right. We have every right. We're your parents. And more than that, we're your family. Or have you forgotten what that means? I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. Other diners glanced over, but I didn't care. I haven't forgotten, but apparently you have. Family isn't supposed to feel like extortion. Sit down. You're making a scene. I'm leaving. If you walk out that door, you'll regret it. My mother's voice followed me as I grabbed my purse. Emma's wedding is in 3 weeks. 3 weeks, and you're going to stand up there as her bridesmaid and smile for the photos. And when this family needs you, really needs you, you're going to do the right thing. I paused at the table, looking down at the woman who'd raised me, searching for something, remorse, understanding, even basic human decency. I found none of it. The right thing, I said quietly, would be respecting that I'm an adult with my own life. But you've never seen me that way, have you? I'm just the backup plan. The ATM with the heartbeat. You're being ridiculous. I'm being honest. For the first time in my life, I'm being honest. I'm not selling my home. Not for 700,000, not for any amount. That penthouse is mine. I earned it, and you're going to have to accept that. I walked out of the restaurant into the bright afternoon sun, my hands shaking so hard I could barely unlock my car. My phone started buzzing immediately. My mother calling, texting, calling again. I silenced it and drove home on autopilot, my mind racing through every conversation, every family first comment, every casual request that had slowly built to this moment. When I got home, I stood at my floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the city I'd worked so hard to claim as mine. My reflection stared back at me, 21 years old, successful, independent, and completely alone. I thought the conversation was over. I thought I'd made my position clear and they'd have to accept it, even if they were angry. I was so naive. I had no idea that in 3 weeks, at my sister's wedding, everything would detonate in a way I never saw coming. And the worst part? I was still planning to show up, still planning to smile, still trying to be a good daughter. If you're feeling this story, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't believe what happens next. Trust me, this is where everything changes. The 3 weeks between that lunch and Emma's wedding were the longest of my life. My mother didn't call again. Neither did my father. The silence was deliberate, calculated, a punishment designed to make me reconsider, to make me feel guilty enough to change my mind. Instead, it gave me time to think, to really look at the patterns I'd been ignoring for years. I thought about telling Emma what happened, but every time I picked up the phone, I imagined her reaction. She'd probably laugh it off, say mom was just being mom, tell me I was overreacting. Emma had never had to fight for anything. She didn't understand what it felt like to be seen as a resource instead of a person. So I stayed quiet. I showed up to the bridesmaid dress fitting. I smiled for the bachelorette party photos. I played my role perfectly, because that's what I'd been trained to do. The wedding day arrived with perfect weather, sunny but not too hot, with a breeze that made the ceremony flowers sway like they were dancing. The venue was stunning, exactly the kind of place you'd expect when a lawyer from old money marries the golden child. Gardens, a marble fountain, an actual string quartet playing as guests arrived. I got ready with the other bridesmaids in a suite at the venue, watching Emma transform into a bride. She looked beautiful, radiant in a way that seemed to generate its own light. For a moment, watching her laugh with her maid of honor, I felt that old familiar ache. Not jealousy exactly, but a deep loneliness that came from loving someone who would never love you the same way back. "You okay?" Emma asked, catching my eye in the mirror. "Just emotional," I said, and it wasn't entirely a lie. She squeezed my hand, and for just a second, she was my big sister again. The one who used to let me sleep in her bed during thunderstorms, who taught me how to braid my hair, who I'd once thought hung the moon. Then her phone buzzed, and she was gone again, swept up in wedding coordinator instructions and last-minute touch-ups. The ceremony was beautiful. I stood at the altar holding my bouquet, watching Marcus's face as Emma walked down the aisle, and I genuinely hoped they'd be happy. Despite everything, I wanted that for her. It was during cocktail hour that everything fell apart. I was talking to one of Marcus's cousins, making polite small talk about the weather and the ceremony, when my father appeared at my elbow. "Need to borrow you for a minute, sweetheart," he said, his hand firm on my arm. "Family photo." But he didn't lead me toward the photographer. Instead, he guided me through a side door into a small private room, probably meant for the wedding party to touch up makeup or take a breath. Except my mother was already there, and Emma, and Marcus. The door closed behind me with a soft click that sounded like a trap springing shut. "What's going on?" I asked, though my stomach already knew. "We need to have a conversation," my mother said. She was still in her mother-of-the-bride dress, champagne-colored silk that probably cost more than my monthly rent used to be. "A conversation you've been avoiding." "I haven't been avoiding anything. I was clear at lunch. The answer is no." "You didn't let us explain the full situation," my father interjected, using his reasonable voice, the one he used when he wanted you to think he was being logical. "This isn't just about Emma and Marcus. This is about family stability, family future." Marcus shifted uncomfortably, and I looked at him directly for the first time. Did you know about this? He glanced at Emma. Your parents mentioned it might be a possibility. It's more than a possibility, my mother said sharply. It's what's best for everyone. Emma and Marcus need a proper home. You have one. The solution is obvious. The solution is for them to buy their own home. Like I did. With what money? Emma spoke for the first time, and there was an edge in her voice I'd never heard before. Not everyone had it as easy as you did. I stared at my sister, the golden child, the one who'd had everything handed to her since birth, and I almost laughed at the absurdity. Easy? I worked 3 jobs in college. I lived on ramen and coffee. I saved every penny. And we're very proud of that, my father interrupted. But that's exactly why this makes sense. You know how to build success from nothing. You can do it again. Emma and Marcus are just starting out. Marcus is a corporate lawyer. Emma has a degree. They're not starting out. They're just not starting out in a $2 million penthouse. Don't be greedy, my mother said, and her voice had that tone, the one that used to make me shrink as a child, the one that meant I was disappointing her. This family has given you everything. And now, when we need something from you, you're showing your true colors. My true colors? You want me to give away my home for a fraction of its value, and I'm the problem. We're offering you $750,000, my father said. That's more than fair. It's 37% of what it's worth. It's family, Emma said. And now I heard it, the entitlement, the genuine belief that she deserved my life more than I did. You'd rather have a big empty apartment than help your own sister? Something inside me cracked. 21 years of being second, of working harder, of being the responsible one while Emma floated through life on charm and privilege. It all came rushing up like bile. I'd rather have the home I earned. The one thing in my life that's actually mine. Not yours, not theirs, mine. You're being selfish, my mother said. I'm being rational. You're being a brat. Emma's face was flushed now, beautiful even in anger. You've always been jealous of me, and now you're punishing me on my wedding day. This has nothing to do with jealousy. This is about you thinking you're entitled to something I worked for. Girls, my father started, but my mother cut him off. We are not asking anymore, she said, her voice ice. We're telling you, you will sell that apartment to your sister, or you will no longer be part of this family. The room went silent. Even Emma looked shocked. Are you serious? I asked quietly. Completely. My mother stepped closer, and I could smell her perfume, the same scent she'd worn my entire childhood, now forever associated with this moment. You have a choice to make. Your home or your family. I looked at each of them. My father, who wouldn't meet my eyes. Emma, who looked away when our gazes met. Marcus, who seemed to want to be anywhere but here. And my mother, chin raised, absolutely certain she held all the cards. That's not a choice, I said. That's an ultimatum. Call it whatever you want. What's your answer? And that's when I said the word that changed everything. No. My mother's hand moved so fast I didn't see it coming. The slap echoed in the small room like a gunshot, and my head snapped to the side from the force. My cheek burned. My eyes watered, not from pain, but from shock. She'd actually hit me. On my sister's wedding day, surrounded by family, my mother had raised her hand and struck me like I was a child who'd misbehaved. I touched my face, feeling the heat of her handprint blooming across my skin. When I looked back at her, she didn't look sorry. She looked furious that I'd made her do it. You will regret this, she hissed. But standing there, tasting blood from where I'd bitten my tongue, I felt something unexpected. Clarity. Crystal clear, ice-cold clarity. I looked at Emma one last time. She was crying, but not for me, for her wedding, for the scene, for herself. Always for herself. Congratulations on your marriage, I said quietly. I hope it's everything you deserve. Then I walked out of that room, through the cocktail hour crowd, past the confused faces and whispered questions. I walked straight to the parking lot, got in my car, and drove away. I didn't cry. Not yet. First, I had a phone call to make. Don't miss what happens next. This is where the revenge begins. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss my next videos. Trust me, you need to see them.